Hi, and welcome to Underneath the Hat podcast. I am your host, author, entrepreneur, educator, Cherise Simmons. And we are in season 4, episode 7 of Underneath the Hat podcast. I want to thank you all so much for supporting me. This season, we're focusing on speak over yourself, encouraging yourself even when no one else does, being your biggest cheerleader. I ask that you would like and subscribe on YouTube to the podcast page Underneath the Hat. Also, check us out on all platforms: Anchor, Overcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, and Pocket Cast. All the podcast platforms. Also, be sure to share. Be engaged. Post questions and comments. I promise you I respond to them. You can also sew into the session through Cash App at $YLAAT 2017 or through Zelle underneath the hat at gmail.com. Also, you can check out my 2 books, Underneath the Hat, and it's that size for a reason. You can find it wherever books are sold. If you go to Amazon and type in my name, Cherise Simmons, right there, then both of the titles will pop up. All right, let's get started. So the title for this one is called Pigeon or Eagle. Pigeon or Eagle. And I decided to do this one specifically today because this week I am about to embark on a path in my career that I have been afraid of. Make sure my mic is on. A path that I have been afraid to venture into because I didn't feel I was good enough. And I won't even say good enough. I was just fearful of all that it entailed, and I wasn't sure that I was prepared for it. At the time that I applied in the previous years, it was because I was being talked into doing it, not because I really wanted to do it. Because I am a firm believer in don't do anything if you can't give 110%. And anyone who knows me knows that I am an overachiever. I go above and beyond in everything that I do. I'm very consistent in all that I do and persistent and determined. And so I don't like wasting my time or anybody else's. And I have applied for this twice before with not enough experience to have made it through. But tomorrow I am going for the 3rd time. And I feel totally comfortable, totally ready for what is expected of me once I make it into this new role. And so I decided to talk about pigeon versus eagle because I've realized that the people I surround myself with have helped me in realizing my purpose and my capability. Let me explain. Everyone who lives in a big city, i.e. Chicago, New York, you have seen a pigeon. For those that may not, pigeons are birds that travel in groups, and they basically stay low to the ground and wait for you to drop crumbs or scraps or anything that you don't want in order for them to pick at it and take from the other pigeons that are around it. If you've ever seen the movie Finding Nemo, the scene where they're at the pier and you have the seagulls and they say, mine, 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 mine. It reminds me a lot of pigeons because even though the pigeons don't make, they coo. But even though they don't make the mine sound, anytime I see multiple pigeons trying to fight for one piece of chicken or bread, It always reminds me of that scene from Finding Nemo. And then you have the eagle. The eagle is a solitary animal, which means that you don't see it in groups. Rarely do you see an eagle flying with other eagles. When you do get to see the vision and the majesty of an eagle, it's flying alone. And eagles fly very high. It's been said that the altitude of an eagle, when other birds try to reach that peak of an eagle, they tend to die because they can't handle the air up there. And so that's why eagles are the only birds that can fly at that altitude or at that level. And so looking over my career as an educator these last 17 years and looking at all of the different opportunities that I've had and doors that have opened for me and windows that have opened for me, I realized it was because of my pigeon versus eagle mindset. I have always been a solitary person. I'm an introvert. And those of you that know me know I don't hang out with a lot of people. I love being by myself. A perfect day for me is not out in the streets kicking it with a whole group of people. I am okay sitting at home by myself, watching TV, going to a movie by myself, going out the country, traveling by myself, going to dinner by myself. All the things that people are afraid to do on their own, I love because I enjoy the solitude, the peace. I get a lot of revelations from God when I'm quiet and still and alone. So I enjoy the quiet. And so I would say I'm very similar to an eagle in that I don't mind traveling alone. I prefer to work alone because I have the mindset of I don't like to depend on other people. I don't like to be disappointed. And if a mistake is made, I want to know that it's my fault so that I can fix it instead of depending on somebody else. And so my mindset has always been that of an eagle. I never felt the need to have a whole bunch of people around me in order to be successful or to complete something. But you have people, we have people in our lives that are like pigeons. They can't do anything alone. They always got somebody around them. And it seems like the more people they have around, the worse things get for them. They can't really hear what's going on and what God is trying to say to them or what their next move should be because they have so many might around them. And so looking back over my life, I've realized and thank God that he gave me the mindset of an eagle. Now, there have been times where I didn't feel eagle-like, where, prime example, this new venture I'm stepping into tomorrow, and I claim it today in Jesus' name that I am stepping into it. It's my time. I was afraid to go to this height. This altitude choked me because I didn't feel like I was capable of surviving in this area, on this path. And what God has done over these 17 years is he started me out at a low level and allowed for me to get adjusted to the altitude, to the wind, allow for my breath to catch up and build upon the expectations at every level until I was finally able to breathe at the highest altitude possible. And this next level is going to happen for me tomorrow. And I'm excited about it because I've been able to see all of the different levels that I've overcome that I didn't think I could. Starting out as a 23-year-old third grade teacher at Jesse Owens and working in third grade for 8 years. And then my principal and assistant principal both retire in the same year in 2000. And preparing me to be the assistant principal of the school. Never was my intention to be an assistant principal, but they saw something in me that I didn't. And so they pushed me and prepared me and motivated me to be the assistant principal. And the year that they both retired, I became the assistant principal at Jesse Owens. Even though it was short lived due to CPS closing 50 schools and ours became consolidated with the school down the street because we were a primary school, I then went on to be assistant principal at Bradwell. Another Eagle came and lifted me up and pushed me into a new environment and atmosphere that I wasn't used to at USL schools. And she walked me through and helped me get my breathing together as I went to a new level within CPS, one that I had never ventured into before. And then I did a year there. And most people would consider it a drop or a decline in my career because I went back into the classroom. Because mentally and emotionally, I just wasn't ready to be anybody's administrator. I was going through my first divorce and separation, and I was a dead man walking. Mentally, emotionally, I was out of it. I was there physically, but not mentally and emotionally. And so those first 2 years as an administrator were pretty much a haze. And so I decided to go back into the classroom. I decided to go back to an altitude I was comfortable with. And I stayed there for 7 years. And then God said, okay, it's time for you to fly a little higher. And he let me know I was ready. I applied to be assistant principal again. And here I am now at Parkside in my second year as an administrator. And now I'm about to venture into a new level of being on the principal's list. Something I always was afraid to do because I didn't think there was something I wanted or didn't think that I had the skills to do it. And now, having flown at these different heights and had people to help me coast on their wings until I felt comfortable enough to fly on my own, I can now say that I'm at my highest peak at this point in my life. And I'm breathing well. I'm breathing well. The air up here is great. And so I want to encourage someone today who may feel like they're not good enough, who may feel that they can't be good enough by themselves. They always have to have a crew around them or a squad around. You don't. It's hard to hear what God wants you to do or even hear yourself think if it's so much noise around you. And I know some people are afraid of silence because we may have grown up or been surrounded by chaos and noise for so long that silence feels crippling. Silence feels like you're alone. Silence feels like you're uncertain and it feels uncomfortable. But I promise you that a lot is said in silence. And if you just get by yourself and be still sometimes, the things that you can hear, the things that you can see, the things that you can plan that you never thought were possible can be mapped out in that silence. Don't feel that you always have to stay at the level of a pigeon surrounded by tons of people that are all vying for the same thing as you. Everyone can't go to the levels that you're going to. I heard Steve Harvey say something early in his career. He said those that grow with you can't always go with you. Meaning those people that you grew up with, that you're comfortable with, that have always been there. There are some places you're about to go, some rooms you're about to enter into, some levels you're about to go to, some places you're about to fly to, that they can't go. They can't go. There's a reason why when we go to the airport, our bags have to be 50 pounds. They assume that they make an estimate of how, they figure out how much a plane can hold. And they do division and multiplication and subtraction and addition in order to come up with that 50 pounds per person. In order to know that this amount can be held on this plane. And if you've ever seen a movie, there have been moments where things have had to be taken off of planes and released from planes because the plane was too heavy. Sometimes we're going to have to cut some people loose and let go of some baggage, either personal baggage, relational baggage, familial baggage, emotional baggage, mental baggage, financial baggage, spiritual baggage. We all have it. And we're going to have to release it in order to get to the next level because we are carrying too many bags. We like Erykah Badu's song, Bag Lady. You're going to miss your bus. You can't hurry up because you got too much stuff. So we're going to have to learn how to let some stuff go and leave some groups in order to elevate ourselves. And it's okay. I know it's difficult being alone, being the only one there. But the one thing about eagles, even though they travel by themselves, when people see them, it's one of the most majestic things your eyes could ever see. So even though the eagle looks alone and looks lonely, the people that are looking at it and viewing it don't even realize that it's by itself. It just realizes the beauty of the eagle. So remember, there's value in you. Even when you can't see it, other people do. And it's okay to fly alone. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Underneath the Hat Podcast, Season 4. Speak over yourself. Make sure you subscribe and like the YouTube page, Underneath the Hats Podcast. Check us out on all podcast platforms: Anchor, Overcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, Breaker, and Pocket Cast. Also, share the video. Post your questions and your comments. Sew into the session. We appreciate everything because people don't have to be nice to you. And check out my books. It's that size for a reason. Underneath the Hats, which the podcast is based on. Wherever books are sold and on Amazon, just type in my name, Cherie Simmons. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, for joining me, for listening. I hope and pray that something I have said over these 4 seasons have helped you to be better and to learn how to speak over yourself. Again, remember to take care of yourself underneath the hat. I will see you